Welcome to the Just Nuke It podcast. Ready for another apocalyptic probe?
Always.
Yeah, me too. This week we've got two stories actually.
Yeah, wow.
Two pulse-pounding tales, really.
Yeah.
Where the fate of humanity hangs by a thread. You know, the kind of end of everything scenario from flash fiction.
I love it.
Yeah. Think like blockbuster action meets those mind-bending puzzles and ancient mysteries, all designed to like get you thinking about what truly matters when the clock's ticking down.
When it's all on the line.
Exactly. And we're kicking things off with a story called the Doomsday Code.
Okay.
So picture this. The planet is on the brink of nuclear annihilation. And the usual suspects, the world's like brightest minds.
Right, right.
The ones we'd usually expect to save us, they failed.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's bad. And now it's up to a seriously motley crew of outcasts to decipher this bizarre sequence of puzzles to avert catastrophe.
So who are we talking here? Like, who are these unlikely saviors?
Okay, so we've got a street-smart hacker, a telepathic test subject, a demolitions expert with like zero social skills.
Okay.
And then an autistic savant who sees patterns that are like invisible to everyone else.
Wow. That's quite the team.
Right. And their mission is to unravel a code that seems to be based on, wait for it, pediatric developmental patterns.
Like kids.
Yeah, like little kids. It's almost like outsmarting a toddler, but with their finger on like the big red button. What do you think about that?
It's definitely not the usual hero squad we're used to seeing.
Right. It's a really interesting choice, I think. And what's so compelling is, well, it really upends our expectations. We're so conditioned to these narratives where it's like established authority, conventional expertise, that saves the day. But here, this story is saying maybe it's the very people that society tends to overlook, to marginalize even, who actually hold the key to survival. It's like a big question mark hanging over the kinds of intelligences and perspectives that we value.
It definitely makes you think.
Yeah. And the story throws us right into the action. 36 minutes.
36 minutes till what?
Until global nuclear detonation. And the initial team of geniuses, the ones with all the PhDs and fancy titles.
Right, right.
They've hit a wall. They can't crack the code. And this biochemist, Dr. Lin, she's suddenly thrust into this crisis, and she finds herself completely reliant on this incredibly unconventional team.
It's like the system itself failed, and now they're left scrambling for a solution outside the box.
Like, totally. And that ticking clock, it just creates this immediate sense of urgency. And the fact that the expected saviors failed.
Oh, yeah. That definitely raises the stakes.
Absolutely. And then you have this group. The hacker, the telepath, the demolitions expert, and the savant. The author very deliberately chose those skills, right? It's like they're highlighting the potential power of cognitive diversity in a crisis. What are your thoughts on that specific combination?
Well, it's almost like, a superhero team, but grounded in this, like, strange reality.
Totally. And there's this one detail that always gets me. It describes the nuclear arsenal as singing nursery rhymes and like sending launch coordinates.
Right. What?
It's so bizarre and unsettling, but it instantly tells you that whatever this problem is, it's operating on a level that our normal logic, our security measures, expert analysis even, can't grasp. It's just beyond us.
It's a fundamental breakdown. You're right. Something deeply, strangely wrong at the heart of it. Like, this isn't just geopolitics gone wrong. It's something else. It really makes you think, like, when faced with something so utterly illogical, what kind of logic can even solve it? Or do we need something more like intuition?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
And that's where Finn comes in. He's the autistic savant. And he starts to notice these patterns in the code, in this gibberish, and he keeps saying rhyme, repetition. And then Kai, the telepath, has this like incredible breakthrough.
What is it?
It's not actually a code in the traditional sense. It's a language,
Yeah.
but based on pediatric developmental patterns.
Wow. Talk about an unexpected solution.
Right. The key to averting global disaster isn't some complex algorithm or military protocol. It's like understanding the very basics of human communication, like how kids develop language. It's almost primal.
That's brilliant. It really is.
So they know they have to, as Eli the hacker puts it, outsmart a toddler with an itchy trigger finger.
Oh, man.
And we get this really intense scene of them all working together, frantically trying to figure this out. And Dr. Lin, the biochemist, she's gripping a Rubik's Cube.
A Rubik's Cube? Why?
She's like making this connection between the cube, which is chaotic but ultimately solvable, and this impossible code they're facing. It's like a metaphor for the whole situation.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's this complex puzzle with a hidden order, just like the code.
I see, I see.
And the fact that solving the cube requires, like, manipulation, a nonlinear way of thinking, well, it reflects the unconventional thinking they need for this crazy nursery rhyme code.
Yeah, that's a cool detail.
So Lynn, she ends up solving the Rubik's Cube in this way that just looks wrong. It's almost like a childish defiance of how it's supposed to be solved.
Okay.
Which is perfect, right?
Right.
Because it mirrors their whole team and their approach. And then she keys in the sequence and, well, the world holds its breath. It's such a fantastic ending, almost absurdly brilliant. But it really makes you think about how unpredictable survival can be.
Definitely.
So that's the Doomsday Code. It really makes you consider the value of different perspectives, you know, and how unconventional approaches can be powerful, especially when facing those big, scary, never-seen-before threats. It really challenges our assumptions about expertise. Sometimes you have to look at a problem from a totally different angle to find the solution.
Absolutely.
Now, for the second part of our apocalyptic probe, we're shifting gears completely.
Okay, I'm ready.
Right. It's a flash fiction story called Pandora's Ark. And it asks this question. What happens when humanity's curiosity, our need to know everything, accidentally unleashes a global catastrophe?
Oh, that's a good one.
So in this story, there's this ancient artifact. It seems totally harmless at first, but it ends up triggering these massive earthquakes and tsunamis.
Okay.
But the real terror isn't just the natural disasters. It's these things called the Whisperers. They're shadowy figures who invade people's dreams, offering comfort, you know, like understanding, and then they lure them away with promises of a solution. And our main character, Dr. Maya Ortiz, she's an archaeologist, and her team, they have to figure out the artifact's secrets before it's too late. But they discover that the disaster, it's not really an external force. It's like an amplifier of all the darkness already inside human hearts. Fear, greed, you name it.
It's like our own flaws are turned against us.
Exactly. That's what I thought too. So what were your initial thoughts on that whole premise?
It's tapping into a primal fear, you know? The fear of the unknown, the idea that our thirst for knowledge could backfire in a huge way. Like all those myths and legends about forbidden knowledge, tampering with things we don't understand.
Yeah, exactly. And Dr. Maya Ortiz, she's an archaeologist, right?
Yeah.
So at first, she dismisses any superstitious stuff about this artifact. It's just this weathered stone box covered in these faded markings. But the moment they open it,
What happens?
it's not like there's this big explosion or anything, but the world starts to like tilt off its axis. Earthquakes, tsunamis, they just keep escalating across the globe. It's so creepy.
Yeah, it's that slow burn, that gradual unraveling of the natural order that's so effective.
Absolutely. And then you have the Whisperers. These figures start appearing in people's dreams, offering solace, promising they can make everything okay.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Right. And people just start vanishing, drawn to this like mental siren song. It's a threat that works on a whole other level, preying on our vulnerabilities in our most private space, you know, our dreams.
It really adds that psychological dimension to the disaster, doesn't it? It's not just about surviving physically, but about resisting this manipulative force that preys on our deepest fears, our hopes for safety and understanding. What did you find most disturbing about the Whisperers?
It's the way they exploit our need for hope, especially when everything is falling apart. It's like even Cole, the youngest member of Maya's team, he's among the first to go, just muttering, they can fix it. It just shows you how powerful that promise of a solution can be, especially in a crisis. We're all vulnerable to that, you know?
Absolutely. It's a reminder that when we're afraid and things are uncertain, it's easy to fall for those who offer simple answers or a false sense of control. It makes you think about how misinformation or dangerous ideologies can spread like wildfire during times of crisis.
It's a chilling thought. And as Maya's team starts to dwindle, they're desperately trying to figure out this artifact. And they uncover this, well, this horrifying truth.
What is it?
It's not actually causing the chaos, it's amplifying it. It's like it's intensifying all the darkness inside human hearts, all the negative stuff that's usually kept in check.
That's heavy.
It is, it's bleak, but it really makes you think, right?
Yeah.
It shifts the blame from some outside force to our own flaws. It's like maybe the greatest threats aren't out there, but within us.
Yeah, that's a powerful concept.
So the world's falling apart around them, literally, and they realize that destroying the box isn't the solution. They have to somehow counteract these amplified negative emotions.
Oh, wow.
And they eventually track these energy readings to the source, the epicenter of all the chaos.
And what's there?
The Whisperers are waiting. And they're described as these twisted reflections of Maya's own team, their faces mirroring the hunger and terror that the box has unleashed. It's such a striking image.
It really brings home that point about the external disaster being a manifestation of an internal one, doesn't it? Like, we're facing distorted versions of ourselves, fueled by fear and desperation.
Exactly. And Maya, she does this like last-ditch effort thing.
Yeah.
She places the artifact, still contained, right in the center of the storm.
Why?
It's not a scientific solution, really. It's more symbolic. It's like an offering, a desperate attempt to confront the source of this amplification. And somehow, the box implodes, taking the Whisperers with it. And the immediate disasters, they stop. It's a resolution, but it also leaves you with so many questions.
It does. They survive, but the world is in ruins. And Maya's reflection that for every external foe conquered, there's another one inside us that's harder to fight, well, it leaves you with a real sense of unease. Like, even when the outside threats are gone, the human condition remains. We're capable of creating new challenges, new threats.
Wow, what a ride, right? From the nursery rhyme codes and the Doomsday Code to the unsettling whispers and amplified human darkness in Pandora's Ark, these flash fiction stories really give you a lot to think about.
They do.
In a global catastrophe, what skills would really matter? Would it be the usual brilliance, or would it be those unexpected insights from the people on the fringes? And that idea from Pandora's Ark that the biggest threat might not be something external, but something inside us, that's scary, right? Makes you wonder if we are our own worst enemy.
It's definitely food for thought. These stories really push us to consider the complexities of human nature, how we approach problem solving, and the unpredictable nature of survival.
Absolutely. We hope this apocalyptic probe into these flash fiction stories sparked your imagination. What stood out to you? What do you think your role would be in these end-of-world scenarios? Let us know. And if you enjoyed this journey into the apocalyptic, be sure to rate and follow the Just Nuke It podcast for more captivating stories every week.